Everybody loves a perfect theme song, a melody that stays inside your heart. You might have a nice show and others may think so, but if you want a great connection right from the start, then you gotta have a perfect theme song, so everyone can sing along from home. And while they are singing, the ratings you'll bring in, all because the melody is stuck in their head. You can make the bridge sound Jewish, that would be fine, long as it's familiar but newish. Everyone's falling in line, all because you got a perfect theme song, accompanying the audience for years. And when the show is over, it won't be the end, because the perfect theme song's a life-lasting friend. And speaking of friends, here's your host and MC, 'cause Mondays with Marcus is now a live stream. Whoa, 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 yeah. Hello and good early evening to you all. Welcome to Mondays with Marcus, a live stream of consciousness. I'm your host, Marcus Goldhaber, in case there was any cause for concern. That's who I am. Thank you all for tuning in today. I hope you're all, if you're in this area of the country and the world, it's 91,000 degrees outside. And if you don't have any kind of air temperature control inside, it might be even hotter. Or if you're in some kind of production studio in your own home, maybe that's the case. So I hope you're all doing well, and that you had a great weekend. I had a pretty momentous weekend, crossing a number of thresholds, and it was. I know that we're all having our own experiences with that these days, but it was pretty incredible to observe and experience a lot of firsts. Once again firsts. That's a term I'm going to coin. Once again first. So we'll get into that. I'd like to share a couple of things that I experienced, and welcome to our season finale. You made it. How about that? There have been a good bunch of you who have tuned in every week for the past 12 episodes, and now this is our 13th episode, and I'm really thrilled. You know, there are a lot of people who were saying to me before this episode airs, they were saying, "Are you sure you want to make that the season finale? 13. Oh, it's not really the lucky number that you want. It's considered unlucky." And and then I had some TV actor friends who were like, "Oh, well, this is what a series should be in terms of episodes." And I said, "Well, I don't really have a nice relationship with the word should in general." So, but I got to thinking, well, why is 13 unlucky anyway? And I'm sure many of you out there know this right now. And you're like, well, I know, because you all grew up with the internet. And speaking of which, or maybe you just knew that, but I went ahead and looked it up because I knew at one point, but I forgot. And it goes back to our dear friend Judas Iscariot. Apparently, many believe that because he was the 13th disciple, that therefore the number 13 is considered unlucky. Well, I'm going to push back a little bit, just not having been around that time to really, know. But also, I was born on the 13th. So what does that say? I mean, I'm born September 13th, for those of you who are keeping track and keeping a file. But anyway, all that to say, I say 13. Here we go, and hopefully nothing happens during the episode that's considered unlucky. But you're all here, and I'm so grateful for you all tuning in. We've got an incredible show planned for you, and one of these days we're going to actually do it. I'm kidding, and that's not my line anyway. I borrowed that from Late Night from Carson, but. I am thrilled to be here, and I'm also thrilled to be sharing this space with my dear friend Owen Meadows. Owen, are you there? Uh-oh, there he is. Okay, you had me nervous for a second. Goodness, Owen, I don't know if I could do.
Yeah, we're having a little trouble.
I think back and when I started this whole journey, and I thought, man, I can do this. I can put this whole thing together on my own and push all the buttons and run the show and talk to the people and yada yada yada, set up the lighting. And I'll tell you, now that you and I have gotten in a rhythm here, I can't imagine doing it without you. How are you, sir? Do you have a good nice weekend?
Good. Yeah, I just got back from Connecticut this afternoon, actually, just a couple hours before the show.
Oh,
So
wow. All right.
yeah,
Where in
spent the
Connecticut,
week
if
there.
you don't mind me asking?
I was in New London doing some work at the
Oh,
Eugene O'Neill Theatre Center. Uh,
sure. Sure. I was in
yeah.
New London for about 5 minutes the previous weekend, as you may or may not recall when I took my dad to
Oh,
yeah, I took him to Block Island with my sister.
right.
We had
Yeah.
to
Take the
stop in
ferry.
Long Island, New London to
Hmm.
take that ferry, but, you know, that 5-minute drive through New London was pleasant. It was
Yeah, it's a
charming.
beautiful, beautiful little town.
Yeah. I was mentioning in the lead in here that it was a pretty big weekend for me. I don't think I mentioned this to you, but I um, I had my first gig, like in-person
Oh,
gig.
really?
It was yeah, it was wild. I was holding a microphone in front of other human beings with beating hearts, and I was singing, notes, and they were responding in real time. It was wild, and it felt great in
Yeah.
general, and it felt very unnerving at times too, and just sort of that, unfamiliar. And it was
Hmm.
strange to feel something so familiar feel
Yeah.
unfamiliar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We've all kind of just a little bit forgotten how to do our jobs, almost.
It was wild, but after you get through all of the sort of messy bumpiness of, how do we interact with people again, and what are the because this was also an indoor gig,
Right.
uh, and there were like 100. It was a private event. There were about like 150 people there, and it was, I was moments leading up to, I was like, okay, I guess experiencing a little apprehension, as you might
Right.
expect. And there were a few moments where, I went to, greet someone with a who I knew with a fist bump, and they were very insistent on a handshake, and we had to
Right.
navigate that sort of, that unwanted game of paper, rock, scissors that I didn't, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
God, I don't know. And but that's the real human interaction. That if you had
Hmm.
asked me 2 years ago, what would you do in that? I was like, that would never happen. I can't even imagine
Exactly.
something like that happening. But because of the gig, I went and I got a haircut, which was my first haircut. I know I'm wearing a hat now, but like, I mean, hello, this is like, it's a whole new feeling. Um, and that was wild too. And being
Yeah.
inside, the hair place. Who says the hair place? I don't know who said. My great grandfather would probably say, "You go to the hair place, the place where they cut the, Anyway, so it was a lot of good firsts, but I really,
Good.
like I said, at the end of all the messy bumpiness, at the end of the day, it was being to connect with, real live people through music. It
Yeah.
it was
It feels
bizarre,
good.
beautiful. It was beautiful. It did feel good. So for all you out there who haven't, had that experience yet, I'm excited for you to have it at your own pace, and it's okay to feel apprehensive about it. And it's okay to feel totally comfortable. You you have I think everyone has this person in their family that's like the last to discover something that people have
Hmm.
known about for many years. I feel like
Yeah.
or the last to experience something that a lot of other people have already, played around with. I feel like that's me right now where I'm calling up some friends. I'm like, "I had a gig. It was inc" and they're like, yeah, good for you, Marcus. Yeah, we've been doing that already, and kinda like, okay, and not everyone. Some people are like, "Yeah,
Right.
you've been waiting," but, kinda feels like right now I'm that person going around going, "Hey, have you heard about this thing? It's called the Internet. It's amazing. You can look anything up and get the answer." And they're like, "Yeah, thanks a lot, Marcus. You're doing great." Anyway, it was a big weekend, and,
Yeah.
I'm glad to but I'm still glad to be back here and created, this space that, we've
Hmm.
created to connect
Yeah.
has been pretty phenomenal,
And I
and
don't think this kind of thing is going away. I think,
I'm so glad to hear you say that because,
yeah.
like I said, we planning on renewing, the network, of course, my phone's ringing off the hook, all 7 lines are buzzing. They're gonna renew us for a season 2. So, yeah, my plan is to come back, and to do this in the fall, and, uh, and I'm noticing in contrast to your point, I think, that, yesterday I experienced live, and today now I'm back here, and the 2 really serve each other. Like it's a nice
Mhm.
balance.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to come back to. So, well, Owen, thank you so much for everything that you've done to help get me and to get us all here, and all the support that you've given us. I know you've got an exciting couple of months planned in the live
The
element
off
too, and
season, yep.
in the off season, right, right, right. So it's going to be wild, and then we'll come back in the fall, and you'll see the be all brand new design, and we'll have all kinds of a whole dancing chorus, and you
Oh,
know
yeah.
you know, can't have a live stream without the dancing chorus. Well, anyway, Owen, thank you for your support, your patience as I empty my thoughts here to the world. But it's always great to connect with you. I do have to get going, as you know,
Right.
because we have coming up right now one of the newer bits that we'd like to have fun with here. And folks, you guessed it, it's time for Name That Verse. Okay, I should have warned you about that. When we switch to the other camera, it's a little bit closer, and some people are watching and go, "Oh, hey, you didn't tell me you were coming that close to give me a little secret." So this verse is fun to introduce, and I thought, let me throw a real challenge at people. You have to be a real Marcus Goldhaber fan in order to get this song, I think, personally. That being said, and family, if you're watching, you're excluded from being able to participate. Now, what are we doing here? If you're listening for the first time here, this is a bit called Name That Verse. And Name That Verse is, if you ever come to see one of my shows, I do a lot of the intro to these songs that were written in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And a lot of these songs were written to give some incidental music to lead into a love song or a dance number or whatnot you know, eh, in the old time days. But these old films, they go back to the composer, say, "Oh, you've written a great song, but we need a few minutes up front." That's the verse. Okay. So I love these verses. They didn't get transferred to a lot of the recordings that the artists of the day were recording as popular music, because people were waiting for the catch, the hitch, the hook, the hitch. I don't know. They hitch a ride to catch the hook. I don't know. This is starting to sound like a nursery rhyme. So I dig through these verses from time to time because I love that moment of confusion beforehand, and people are wondering, "Oh, what song is this going to be?" And then the moment of, "Oh, that song," and it's always nice. And that's what this music is to me. It's that moment of, that sigh of a smile. And that's how it was, taught to my mother, who taught it to me, and it was taught to her by my grandfather, who we'll talk about a little bit later on in today's show. All that to say, the Name That Verse segment here has a sponsorship element. It's a contest too. So I want to know if you can guess the name of the song, and the first person to guess it correctly, put that in the comment section. It's a good time to find out where that is on your device right now, and I will send you a free Marcus Goldhaber CD if you are the first person to guess this song correctly. And I will also make a donation to the COVID Grief Network, which is, thank you, Owen. Wow. So the COVID Grief Network is an organization that I've been honored to be a part of, that provides support to young adults who have lost someone due to COVID this past year and change, and are still processing their grief. And so what this organization does is it pairs up volunteers like myself to simply provide listening support to folks who are in need, who have sort of slipped through the cracks in terms of getting any kind of professional help. And we kind of are able to steer them in different directions that might, help them find whatever they're needing in this moment. I encourage you to check them out. They're an incredible organization started by social workers who volunteer their time as well. And they're having a pretty profound impact for a lot of people in a time of very unique need. So I'm doing what I can to support them as well. The COVID Grief Network. I will make a donation in your name if you guess this song that has this verse. There are so many love songs that open your heart. Some talk of lovers when love's been torn apart. Some talk of bliss and the night when first we met, while others dream and pine away for a love they'll never get. So what makes this one different? And why should I proceed when I've never heard a lyric say that love is guaranteed? All right, folks, name that verse. All right, here we are back, and we're in the same studio, if you can believe it or not. Folks, today's guest is an incredible musician who has been in New York for about 10 years. And as soon as she got here, everyone started calling her to play with. People started going to see her shows right away. She brings a deep jazz history and an eclectic style to her playing and composing as well. I'm thrilled to have her on the show. Please put your hands together nice and loud so she can hear them through that internet thing. Put your hands together for Miss Hyuna Park. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Hyuna. How are you,
Hello.
my dear?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for carving out time in your busy live stream schedule to join me here today. And I don't say that lightly. You, my dear, are a force. You have been, it seems to me that you jumped on the online, becoming an online artist pretty much right away. Um, so I kind of want to jump in and ask you, was it
Yeah.
what was that transition like? Did you, was that an easy transition or, and if so, why? And if not, why not? Tell me, what was that like for you?
It. I guess it was not. I felt awkward to talk and play in my own apartment without, having anyone in my apartment, and looking at the people thumb size,
Right,
on the
right,
screen. And you they have to be muted for the better sound, whatever, throughout the whole concert. So I play and I bow, and then I see people quiet.
right. The air
And this
applause, and
was,
you're like, oh, I know what you mean. Thanks.
I know.
I know.
Yes.
I have a dear friend who hosts a jam
Yeah.
session on Sundays. I think you might know her, Jocelyn Medina, and she hosts this jam session. And after every singer, maybe it was like 6 months or 3 months into her live streaming, she started playing an applause track after every performance for people, which I thought was kind of sweet. Um,
That's
which
an idea.
I'll warn you, I don't have such technologically advanced things to offer you today.
Uh,
So you just
no.
you said to yourself, okay, the world is going online more so than it ever was before. Okay, I'm gonna figure this out, figure that out, and this is what I'm doing. It was pretty much right away. Is that how it was?
I'm not sure I was ready for it. But I was kind of losing myself, identifying myself as a pianist once you don't have, there's no job. And then I think it was around April, which is very much beginning of the pandemic of last year.
Yeah.
So I was offered to play for or the
Mhm.
International Day,
Yes.
International Jazz Day, Jazz International Day. Sorry.
Yes. Mhm. Any way you say
Yes,
it.
that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
April 30th. Yeah, so I had to
That's it.
figure out putting cameras together and yeah, microphone and Ethernet and then everything.
Mm,
Uh, and actually, by with the huge help of my husband,
that's great.
I don't think I could do it by myself.
You need that, and it's like people around us all of a sudden become tech support in ways that they never imagined, right?
Yes, I mean
Now,
he's very good at mixing and mastering the audio equipment and everything.
oh wow,
But yeah, he hooked up everything, and these jammers with some kind of softwares that I could play with another singer as well at the same time,
right.
and that's been happening too with some errors. But
Yeah. I mean,
so
I know the program you're talking about, that the Jamulus, I think you mentioned.
yeah,
I started working with that a couple of months ago, as well and I think Art Hirahara. Do you know Art, piano player?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
amazing.
so I started
Yeah.
working with art. He introduced me to it, and, you know, I had a moment because that was the first time that and, like you said, there's some errors, there's still some latency issues, but it's still we were able to experience that moment of, synchronized playing where I was
Yes.
hearing, him play live while I saw, and that was a moment, like, I literally in the middle of the rehearsal, I broke down. I was like, "Art, I need a moment." I was like, it was so emotional to
Yes.
feel that beautiful tension between the 2 of us. And
Definitely. Yeah.
that's kudos. So you were doing that from the beginning.
Well, yeah, like around, I think, yeah, about a year ago. Yeah, till we figure out something. Yeah,
So did
I play
you
with this singer named Audrey Silver
Oh, sure. Yeah,
every
I
other
know
week.
Audrey.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's great.
that's been
Um,
working great most of the times.
I mean, that's what we do, right? We make all the plans as perfect as
Yeah.
possible, and then at the end of the day, you're just sort of, at the whims of this, the connection. Um, did you
Yeah.
start now, were you consuming as much content as you were producing?
I was. I mean, I was also. If you go in, log into Facebook, many of our friends are live streaming, and it's happening right now. Meaning, I can't. I don't want to ignore it. Like, if there's a video that I can watch it later, yes, I would do it. But if it's live and if it's happening, I want to join in. I want to check out,
Yeah.
even it's a few minutes. So I think I was watching it a lot, and
Yeah.
it
That's
also makes me feel like something live going on. Even though I
mm.
cannot be in the same place, but yeah.
That's nice. I mean, that's really awesome that you had that connection going both ways. I struggled with that.
Mm,
I struggled in the beginning with both consuming and producing. It was because it felt like you were saying, like, every time you turn the computer on, someone was going live. Someone was,
true.
with a show, like with a full show. Like people were going live all the time before, but it was usually after 8 p.m. and and people were obviously still out, but, so, all right, let's back up for a second, and take me back about you've been here about what, 10, 11 years in New York?
11 years, yes.
11 years. Happy do you know your New York anniversary? Do you know when you arrived exactly?
I don't remember, but I know it's in January.
Okay.
January 2010. That was when I came here.
Okay. Well, happy 11 years. Um,
Thank
so
you.
so tell me, what was it like for you arriving on the New York City jazz scene? I know you came to New York with already a lot of acclaim. I know that you worked and you've done a lot of TV work. You didn't and you've been performing, back in Korea. But what was that transition like for you?
Well, I came and started um, attending to Queens College first, right
Mm,
away, and I was living very close to school, and I was just trying to be a good student at the beginning,
mm,
and stuck in this, practicing room all the time when I can't even really, really talk, and also I had to record the classes, which is like 3 hour long, the graduate school um, classes. So
mm,
I had to spend a lot of time to catch up with what was going on during the class, to not to miss any homework and
mm,
stuff like
right.
that. But then I think it was my third semester. My teacher, one of my teacher, David Berkman,
Mhm,
gave me as a homework. He asked me to go out to the jam session and be
right,
outside,
yeah.
which I did my best for 3 months. And coming home, coming back home, after jam session, it's like 7 in the morning, something like that,
I remember.
back
I
in
remember.
Flushing. Yeah, so I did that. I did my best. I think, but it was pretty wild. I felt like I was in a jungle.
Mm.
Yeah, between the great musicians, overwhelming at the same time. Yeah.
Did you when you were on the session when you were at these sessions, were you I mean, I know you were trying to, like, like you were saying, break onto the scene, just kind of get your feet wet, and it was started by your professor's assignment. Um, at what point, I mean, again, from just, you and I met maybe a year ago. And so I've been doing just a little, I'm getting to know you a little bit just by reading, some of your history and whatnot. And it seems like you came on the scene, and like, I'll say when I met you a year ago, um, you're such a go-getter and always working, always playing. Everyone that I remember mentioning your name to maybe like half a dozen people or something after I had met you, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she's great." Da, da, da. You already had this wonderful reputation, not as an accomplished musician, but a great person, which I obviously agreed to right away. Um, and funny story actually. You and I met before we were supposed to officially meet. I don't know if you remember this, but you were playing. I think you and I had been emailing, and you were going to come by the club, by room 623, and we were going
Yes.
to meet at some point because I think Peter, your drummer Peter, we'll talk about in a second. He had wanted to connect us, and also we have another friend in common too,
Yes.
who's a sound guy, so a sound engineer. So anyway, we had this plan to meet, and then a friend of mine, Antoinette Montague, who was running the International Women in Jazz,
Yes.
right, festival,
Yes.
and she asked me to come by and sing at that jam that was happening on my way to the club, and I think I was going to be
Mm.
meeting you soon. Anyway, so I show up, and who's playing keys? It was Hyuna Park. So I thought that
Yes.
was wild that you and I first time we got to meet was through music, which is
Yes.
wild.
True.
And I remember the song we played. Do you remember the song? It's okay if you don't. Um,
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Honeysuckle Rose. It's
Oh,
fun, yeah.
there you go.
But anyway, so that was wild. But my question to you is, when did you develop your strategy, if you did, in terms of the hustle and carving out the name on the scene that you have today? If you, like I said, you ask cats in town, they know who you are. How long did that take, and what was
Wow.
that journey like for you?
Well, thank you so much for great words, first of all, Marcus. And
Wow, true
um,
ones.
I think, I mean, I am being honest about talking about where I'm coming from, and the I don't know, cultural background or the education that I had in Korea. Not not that I'm generalizing the education in Korea, but I grew up in the South. I'm not sure what South means in America, but for me, it's very conservative. And
Yeah.
no, I was raised not to question about things, and that's very against, in my opinion, it's very against to the idea of jazz, or because jazz is for me, it's freedom or accepting and being open about it.
Mm.
So the jazz that I experienced when I was in Korea before I'm coming, it was pretty conservative. That I was very confused. Like I was coming from classical background, that I wanted to be free, and I sort of wanted to go for it to be freer to jazz, and by accepting and by going for jazz, but I didn't feel that. And so I everybody told me that I have to go to New York to really feel the real jazz, and I came here, and it took me for a while to actually get used to the idea of, I think, freedom of jazz too. And
Mm.
it was already free. It was, everybody was giving. New York can be tough and giving so much at the same time. But for me, where I was coming from, I think I was very shy,
Mm.
or trying to be a student mode in a way. So I think it took maybe a little longer for me to be accepting who I am, and just being there, and appreciating everybody. And I don't know. I'm not sure this makes sense, but
That makes sense.
but
I
I
mean, I feel like I have to say this every week because guests come on the show, and um, you know, when I ask these questions, I tend to ask, I'm very interested in your experience, right? What has it been like? What has your journey been like? And I don't tend to ask a lot of, very one word answers because I don't know. I feel like people can look that up, and so much has changed right now. And so yeah, I can direct someone to your website. Go ahead, read her bio. I could read part of your bio for people right now. It's very impressive and awesome. Um, but I feel like it's more interesting for me, and I think for people who are watching, to know what your experience was like. That just speak. And again, like the show's tagline, right? A live stream of consciousness really means, like, how would you characterize your experience, not in a way that you've sat down and formulated a biography that, needs to be, however 150
Yeah.
words and da 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 da, and make sure you get the credits and things that are not in the bio. So no, you're doing great. You're doing absolutely great. And
Thank you.
and again, in diving in deeper to your journey, at least online, has been very inspiring. And it's really a great experience to learn about you while listening to your music too. At the same time, there's and I mean, I have some favorites of yours too. Particularly, I think the New York, driving in New York is, I think, my favorite. It's like,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's such a great tune, and it's like, I mean, maybe it should come with a disclaimer, because it does, like, there's like, I was listening to it as I'm reading some stuff online, and I start to feel like, what, I'm like, my shoulders are lifted, and I'm like clenching a little bit, and I'm like, what is this? And I look over to check out what the tune's called again, and of course I'm like, oh yeah, it's called Driving in New York. Well, that makes perfect sense. But it's also swinging and interesting, and like, it's really entertaining. So listen, I would love to give you a chance to play anything you'd like, from your latest record or covers or whatever you'd like to play original. And without further
So I'm
ado,
playing my original, or
you can
can I
play
play
anything that your
standard?
heart desires. Whatever you're
Okay.
feeling comfortable with, you play. I'm going to hand it over to you right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please sit back and enjoy the beautiful music of Hyuna Park.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Hyuna Park. Yay! Applause track, applause
Thank you.
track. You can't hear it right now, but the internet is breaking with enthusiasm for your
Thank
amazing
you.
playing. That was fantastic. Now, that was like someone just wrote in a comment, and if you're making a comment on Facebook, sometimes they don't pop up on my end with the names. So forgive me, but I've got a user here who's saying that felt like traveling through a beautiful interdimensional mosaic. Thank you for the journey. I don't think I could say it any better. I was
Wow.
listening to all the references and trying to pick out some of your influences. I definitely hear Oscar Peterson and some Fats Waller and Gershwin, and I'm sure there are a host of others. But most importantly, I hear you. I hear, and that like that's fantastic. I don't. Did you want to say anything about what you just played and how you came to that? And um,
Yeah, I would like to say that as much as I want to pursue my composition and my idea of being creative and everything, I also deeply got to be rooted in American traditional jazz, early jazz by all the great pianists that you just mentioned
hmm,
and Art Tatum. So I think they're
yes,
purely genius and just yeah, deeply and it's something very wonderful. When I play these tunes, mostly elder uh, uh, generation, they recognize these songs and they have this deep connection with these standards, um, which I approached as just instrumental song. I'm so sorry to tell you, to a singer.
that's okay.
But I had to rediscover, not that I know all the lyrics, but all the stories and where it came from, the movies
Right.
and the Broadway shows, and that those are very rich culture that I am still learning. So it's my way of showing respect to American culture.
It's beautiful, and you are, I mean, I should let people know in case they don't know you. You are, like you said, classically trained, and and again, I think what stands out to me, I mean, through all of this, right, I get this sense of history that you're bringing to the music that you play. I get that from what you just played, from what I've listened to online, and what I've seen live. And I think that I really I feel the nuance that you bring to your arrangements and to your style. And so, so many, like a lot of cats come to the city and they start out playing covers and standards and what they were taught in school. And, and I don't blame them for that at all. I mean, I did as well. And so, but then eventually what you start to hopefully identify your own style and your own unique, what makes your version of T for Two different from someone else's.
That's
And it's
right.
just, and the more popular the tune, the harder it is to differentiate your style. Um, and I think you've done a masterful job of carving out a sound that is very uniquely yours and identifiable. Uh, I commend you for that.
Thank you.
And we're gonna talk more, and we're gonna have the chance to hear you play some more too. So but right now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed getting to know Hyuna Park a little bit. Her latest record, Her Morning Waltz, is available for you to buy with cash money, and we want you to send her that cash money. And you can do that via PayPal or Venmo. And that is all the information that you need about this beautiful record. I really encourage you to check it out. And I love the design too. It's edgy, it's contemporary, and it's got a little throwback history in it too. And just the vibe. You've got an upcoming gig, July 8th, 8 p.m. You're going to be honoring Bucky Pizzarelli, playing with Martin Pizzarelli and his quartet, and that's fantastic at the Morris Museum. And you can go to Hyuna's website to find all of the information about that gig, and of course, follow her on social media, interact, and throw her all kinds of love that is so well deserved. And it's someone saying hello to you from Michigan, or maybe hello to me. I don't know. Someone just landed in Michigan. We have people tuning in from all over the world, and maybe from Korea. I
That's
don't know if you have folks who are tuning in from back home, or I know you travel all over the world too. So before the pandemic, you're an internationally known superstar. Um, but it's a beautiful album, and you've got now this gig coming up with Martin Pizzarelli's band. That's in person, right? You're not going to be live streaming from the Morris Museum. That's going to be like with real live human beings in front of you and all of
yes.
that.
Outdoor, I believe it's in a
That's
Morris Museum
beautiful.
in New Jersey.
That's great. That's very exciting. Well, Hyuna, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. Stick around. I say this, go ahead, go into your kitchen, have anything you want in the fridge. It's on us. You go right ahead, take a break, cool off, and we'll check back in with you soon. Thank you
Thank you.
again. Absolutely. Folks, wow, what a great conversation with Hyuna. She's such a beautiful artist. Can't wait to chat with her more and hear more of her music. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, this is great, I've just sent a boatload of Venmo cash or PayPal money over to Hyuna. I still got a little bit more and I want to support Mondays with Marcus. Well, folks, you can do that with us as well. We've got the Venmo and the PayPal for you. So here's all that information. Again, I ask if you're going to send any funds over via PayPal, please remember that we are, quote, friends. And I like to think that maybe through this connection we're having online, if we hadn't met before, that we're maybe becoming friends as well. You can also head over to my YouTube channel and make sure you do subscribe so you can get all the latest updates as we are heading into the off season. You want to know about all the upcoming premiere videos and whatnot that we're going to put out as well in advance of the upcoming season. And of course, you can also just check out my website, marcusgoldhaber.com. An exciting announcement to share about that website is that this show is going to have its own website. It's going to be mondayswithmarcus.com. I know, go figure. But there you'll be able to get access easily to all of our archived episodes, as well as access to the podcast. And that I sort of buried the lead there. Mondays with Marcus is now a podcast for those of you who do not prefer to watch this. If you're having some screen time burnout or you want to do some other kind of activity while you're listening, you can just tune in to anywhere you get your podcasts. But first, initially, you can also get it on my website, mondayswithmarcus.com, which is going to be launched this week. That's very exciting. I have a couple of shout outs to make today. And I would like to make a a special shout out to my godson Nathan, who is watching and just finished his exams. He's a junior in high school, or was a junior in high school, and I can't believe how quickly he's growing up. I think he's growing up faster than everyone else in the world. But I know he's tuning in today, and I'm sending him a boatload of love and congratulations for making it through this past year and change. And he's really thriving. And you are an inspiration to me, Nathan. So thank you. I also wanted to make a special mention today, which I usually do at the end when I'm talking about a grateful moment. But I want to make a special mention today as well, because today, June 28th, is one day before a very special day, what always has been a very special day in my family. You hear me talk about how this music comes to me from my mom, and it came to her from my grandfather, and my grandmother too, who also played the piano around the house. And it was really just passing on a way of life. That's just what they did back then. Everyone, a lot of people had a piano and they were playing the popular tunes of the day, much like you would have the radio on. And so my mom grew up with this music, and then she raised me in the same tradition. And so when I was sitting at the kitchen table doing my homework, there was always, songs from the 20s, 30s, or 40s being played by my mom in the background. And she would often interrupt my homework and interrupt my studies to say, "Hey, do you know this song? Have you heard this song?" And she was remembering them in real time, and just having learned them through osmosis, just being around the house when she was a child. And she would often say, and she still says, "I don't know how I know this song. It just was on. It's in the back of my head, and now it's in the front of my head, and so I'm playing it. And do you know it?" And I was 12 years old, and so invariably I did not know the song. But that's how I learned the American Songbook. And in high school and graduated college with thousands of these songs in my head, and I didn't really have an outlet for them at the time, because that wasn't the goal. The goal wasn't for me to perform them necessarily. It was just to know them. So what is tomorrow, you may be asking yourself? Well, tomorrow would be my grandfather's 100th birthday. And he was born in 1921. And the whole reason that I am where I am right now with this music and in doing a live stream, which it would blow my grandfather's mind to experience. He's no longer with us. He passed on in 2005, but I carry him with me every single day of my life. And so everything I do with the American Songbook is in some way a tribute to him. And you see the logo up in the corner is Fallen Apple. That's my record label, Fallen Apple Records, as in, and the apple doesn't fall very far. So I'd like to throw up a little picture of my grandpa so you have an idea of who I'm talking about. It's a fun one. On the left-hand side, you see him at a very young age, standing with a pony. And then as we get in the center there, that's my grandfather who served in the military, and he's with my grandmother. What a gorgeous couple. And I think I'll get corrected on this later, but I believe they're 20 something, young 20s there. And then towards the end of his life, there's a picture of him and me with my sister Michelle. And he was a very classy guy, Ernest Blostein. And we'll be celebrating 100 years old tomorrow. And I know my family is tuning in for this moment now. And I know we're all thinking of him as well. And so, so thank you, Grandpa. Happy birthday wherever you are. And it's a perfect segue, I suppose, or maybe not. I'm not sure. But it's time to wrap up here with Name That Verse. Okay, folks, if you're just tuning in now, Name That Verse. This is part 2 when we announce what the song is that I played before. And I don't know that we've had any guesses come in. Oh, and if there have been any guesses, you can toss them up on the screen, but I don't think we've had any. So we'll give you have another chance here. If you're buzzing at home, you're like, oh, I think I know it, but there's still a chance to win a free copy of any Marcus Goldhaber CD, or have a donation made in your name to the COVID Grief Network. So without further ado, here is the song I played before. There are so many love songs that open your heart. Some rescue lovers when love's been torn apart. Some talk of bliss and the night when first we met, while others dream and pine away for a love they'll never get. So what makes this one different? And why should I proceed when I've never heard a lyric say that love is guaranteed? You're the reason that I'm here. I had a plan to simply disappear and live without loving you, but that's something I couldn't do. You're the reason I returned to play with fire, knowing I would surely get burned by this covenant. Still I know I'm meant for you. So I lay down my shield and sword in your care to keep. Will you stay and be my reward? Can you trust in me? I don't really need to know. Too many promises were broken, so I let go of this fantasy to live in reality with you. Please don't go and break my heart again, but if you do, them's the breaks, my friend. Ain't no guarantee, but still I wanna be with you. All right, and if you didn't guess that song, I guess I shouldn't blame you because it's brand new. I wrote it, and I figure why not end the series with an original song and an original verse. I don't write too many verses to my songs, but that one I did, and it's called You're the Reason, and I just finished it back in May. So not available yet, not been recorded yet, except for just now, with yours truly playing. And whenever I have piano players on as guests, I'm always a little extra attentive to my piano playing, attentive, self-conscious, what have you. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that tune. And don't think any guesses came in, so I'll just go ahead and make a donation to COVID Grief Network in honor of everyone who's watching here today. Folks, that's all the time we have here for this first section, part one, if you will. But do stick around. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know Hyuna as much as I have enjoyed catching up with her. She's going to come back, and so do stick around. She's going to play some more. I would normally say who we got coming up next week. Obviously, we don't. We're taking off for July and August. We will be back in September. Take this moment to say a huge thank you to every one of my guests who has come on the live stream here and shared their artistry and their thoughts and their vulnerabilities. It's been an incredible journey, stepping outside my sandbox here and connecting with all of you. In this after party coming up, I'm going to be asking Hyuna to share a secret with us that she's never shared before with anyone on camera. And Hyuna, if you're in the green room having a nice bite to eat now, and you just heard that, you have from now until you come back on to prepare and think of a secret that you'd like to share with us that you've never shared with anyone else on camera. Folks, before we depart, I do want to say, again, we do have this after party coming up, but I've had such a great time getting to know each and every one of you in this live stream platform. And I leave you with this. We've come together for a moment today, young ones and some who would rather not say. Finding connection isn't easy, I know, and that's why I created this show. We'll see you next season, folks, unless you stick around for the after party. Have a great week. Bye-bye. Everybody loves a perfect theme song, a melody that stays inside your heart. You might have a nice show and others may think so, but if you want a great connection right from the start, then you gotta have a perfect theme song, so everyone can sing along from home. And while they are singing, the ratings you'll bring in, all because the melody is stuck in their head. You can make the bridge sound Jewish, that would be fine, long as it's familiar but newish, everyone's falling in line. All because you got a perfect theme song, accompanying the audience for years. And when the show is over, it won't be the end, because the perfect theme song's a life-lasting friend. And speaking of friends, he's your host and MC, 'cause Mondays with Marcus is now a live stream. Whoa, 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 yeah. When I'm singing the song I'm singing, I feel it bringing me home. I am never alone when I'm singing a song. When that melody begins, I'm suddenly right back where I belong. How could anything ever go wrong when I'm singing a song? When I hear the music, I know just where I am. Anything can happen to me. I let go of everything I know and believe. I can't explain it. All I really know is I'm confounded and my heart's surrounded by a world of good company. I'm happy as I can be when I'm singing a song. When I hear the music, I know just where I am. Anything can happen to me. I let go of everything I know and believe. I can't explain it. All I really know is I'm confounded and my heart's surrounded by a world of good company. I'm happy as I can be when I'm singing a song. When I'm singing, and I'm always singing. When I'm singing a song. Oh yeah. All right, folks, welcome to the after party. I'm so glad you stuck around to join us. And if you're just joining us and just tuning in, I hope you got your cocktail and you are, unless you're not old enough to drink, in which case you can have your version of a cocktail. Man, I can't wait to be celebrating in an after party setting with you all in person. That's gonna be swinging. That tune right there was an original called "When I'm Singing a Song," and I have Mr. Art Hirahara playing keys. We talked about him a little bit earlier, and so he's playing beautiful piano there. And can't wait to play with Art live again too. That's gonna be wild and beautiful. And yes, folks, welcome back to our season finale. We're going to be welcoming back Hyuna Park, who's my guest today, pretty shortly. But I have some more exciting news to share with you. This club that I mentioned earlier is called Room 623, is a jazz club, a speakeasy jazz club that I launched back in 2019. And that club had to close its doors like everyone else in March of 2020. Sadder fact, part of the story there is that we had just opened the doors in April of 2019. So we were just 1 month shy of our a 1 year anniversary. But we were able to create in 11 months a pretty amazing experience. And it's a real hidden gem of a space. And the music community in New York really just descended upon what we were trying to do and create this space for really immersive, healing, positive live music. And we had, an incredible roster of artists and jam sessions and really built an awesome community. And I'm really thrilled to now finally announce that we are going to definitely reopen. I can't give you a specific date yet, but it will be coming to you soon. So you'll want to make sure and check out room623.com so you can get all the information, the latest updates. Make sure you get on the list. And Owen, if you wouldn't mind, toss up a little snapshot of what what the club looked like when we were live and open back in 2019 and the beginning of 2020. As you can see there, folks, it was just such a great energy that was created. And if you'd like to help the club reopen very strongly, you can go ahead and send over some love to our PayPal link right there. Again, I mentioned the website. You want to head over there and make sure you get on the list so that you can get all the updates and promotions that we're going to be running up until our opening date. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff. And Hyuna knows all about Room 623. She was there. So Hyuna, if you're still hanging around with us, and I hope you are, please welcome back Hyuna Park, ladies and gentlemen, who's joining me today. There she is. Hello, Hyuna. Did you have a nice break?
Yes, I think I made some soda stream to make
Oh,
my own cocktail.
oh gosh. It's a sweltering one today. I could just drink a cup of ice all day. It's hot.
Yes.
It's hot. Folks, if you have any questions for Hyuna, by the way, before we get into anything further here, and you want to ask her something specifically, you want to go ahead and put those questions in the comments section, and we'll read them out loud for Hyuna to answer. And locate where that is on your specific device. Again, if you're tuning in from Facebook, hello. Please make sure and identify your name. Sometimes your names don't appear for us, so they just come up as Facebook user. But I think Owen is keeping an eye on Facebook for us as well, so he can maybe put the name out there for us. And Owen, you're also welcome to speak up. You can say anything you want at any time. I trust you implicitly. Anyway, so we're back with Hyuna, and Hyuna, I wanna zoom in on. It was maybe about. Let's see. You got here. You said 2010, right?
Yes.
Okay. So 8 years later, you form a trio. And you find these two cats, and I would love to know how y'all met, how this came together. The Hyuna Park trio with the bass player Miles Sloniker and of course drummer Peter Tron Mueller. And it's such an eclectic group that really fits your style and what you're looking to do. So can you tell me, how did you find these two cats, and when did you know that they were the ones to help you shepherd your very unpredictable yet clearly, deeply rooted in jazz history style of composing and playing?
Um, yeah, I met Peter in, I think, in one of the jam session, Cleopatra's,
That was a great session.
and
I remember that session.
yeah, that maybe like 7 years, maybe seven, yeah, 7 years ago or so,
Yeah.
as a first time, and then we wanted to have a session in his apartment at the time in Brooklyn,
Mm,
and also I invited him to play with another trio that I have named the Redbirds, with euphonium player and a bassist, and the other one is bassist Yasuno Katsuki and Tina Lama. I wanna say loud their name too. They're beautiful musicians as well. So after all that experiences with Peter, I felt that he is very patient and he is attentive that to hear me out of whatever I'm trying to find. And he was very patient, and then willing to do some extra sessions to find some sound together, or even the first version of my compositions to go through and give me some advices and everything. So that was very nice of him. He's very kind and amazing drummer as well. And we were looking for bases that we would feel the same. And Miles came in his radar, I used to say. And then yeah, he was amazing, great fit. And Miles is very soulful, young but very soulful. Yeah, and bassist that I fell in love with his playing. So,
Mm.
and since I found the perfect fit for it, I had to record right on.
Yeah, you got to do it. Right. I know that feeling when it clicks.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And
Yes.
you're lucky to have it, come to you in that way. I had a similar experience, when I first got together with John Davis, and he and I established a beautiful link right away, and we just knew, and we've been friends forever since too. And
Yeah.
but he and I, from that bond, we would go out and we were listening, to build out a trio and listening to bass players and whatnot. And that's, we were out one night. I think we were at a place that doesn't exist anymore. I don't think it's called Mannahatta. I don't know if you remember that club. That might have been closed before you got here. But we were out one night and we're just listening, and there was some BGO event going on, I think, at Mannahatta. It's down on the east side, and we were just sitting there, John and I, listening, and we heard Martin Wind play, and two of us looked at each other. We're like, oh yeah, that we got to talk to Martin afterwards.
Oh.
And I think he had known Martin too a little bit, and we just chatted afterwards. And but when that chemistry happens, like you gotta follow it, and
Yeah.
that's a beautiful that's beautiful that you were lucky to have that happen to you. Um, so
Yes.
I wanna hear you talk about your songwriting. I wanna know, when I mean that not every musician immediately has that connection with songwriting and has that interest in songwriting. So when did you know that you wanted to write songs, and what is your process like now?
Um, I I I have some ideas and motives. I mean, and to write some possibility to write a song, I should say. And I carry this tiny little notebook, and hopefully I get these ideas to write. And I only had like one or two songs before coming here, but as much as MTA is crazy, somehow being in the subway really
Hmm.
brings me a lot of ideas. Yeah, one or two measures. So I think most of the songs I wrote was in MTA.
Wow. I completely get that.
Yeah.
The sounds of New York. When I first moved to New York, I there was a guy, a friend of mine that we both graduated the same college, and we came here as very free crunchy granola Western New York artists, and we used to wander around the city
Mm.
listening to the sounds and vocalizing and harmonizing, um,
Wow.
with whatever we heard. And you would find us like, and my mom's watching now. I don't think I've ever told her this. You would find us like under bridges and listening to certain vibrations and hums, and like having our own little harmony session, just
Mm.
creating, because there was whether it's the sounds of the train or the vibration and the pulse of traffic, or just the energy pulsing through the city, the hum of, I don't know, air conditioner, building compressors. It's always, like you said, so much going on, and these days it seems like there's fireworks every other week, so it's like percussion to boot. But that's that's beautiful. So, is there a song that you've written, that you can directly tie to a sound or a story that you had experienced in the subway?
Oh, directly in the subway. I guess not. I mean, I felt like I could a little bit understand of babies sleeping better in the car, or white noise or something like that. I don't
Mm.
know. When I in front of the piano, maybe because I could play a lot of things. It just distracts me so much. I can't really write anything in front of piano. I can go through the whole, entire song that I already written, but I can't be creative. But MTA doesn't give me the MTA being in the MTA, but just makes me, I think, focus much in a higher intensive way.
So when
Of
you're
course, I
saying,
have to put something on my head,
so you're
my
saying that
ears.
when you write music, you don't write at the piano because you get distracted by your own ability to play.
I think so. That's my
Wow,
theory.
that's that's amazing.
I
That's
can't. I can't do that.
wow, that's
It's not
incredible.
amazing. It's sad because I can play, but then it sounds like one of the standard, or you know what I mean. I'm not.
Mm,
I don't feel like I'm honest with this and all that. I don't know, because you have finger like muscle memories, so it
totally.
leads to you. But
Oh, listen, for me, it's oral memory. So I'll sit down to start writing a song, and I'll hear it after I play it, and I'll go, "Oh, that's great. That's a great song." And then I'll play it for someone. Often I'll call my mom because I'll have to say, since she taught me all this music, I'll be like, "Hey, take a listen to this.
oh,
Is this already a song?" I have to make sure that, and sometimes I do find out, and she's the same way. She's a writer as well, and so she'll call me and be like, "I
oh,
think I've just written a song that is probably already a song," and but I know what you're talking about. You can easily fall into, the relational, the relationships between, whether it's intervals, notes, oftentimes it's even for lyrics as
mm,
well. So interesting.
yeah.
So when you're writing with your notebook, do you carve out time every day, or do you just wait for this something to hit you and then just make sure your notebook is close by?
I used to wait and hope I get the inspiration from, I don't know, something, but then I took a master class of Bruce Barth, who
Ah, great
is,
pianist.
yes, great
Yeah,
pianist, and
yeah.
I also tell him my mentor, and he said, why not? We practice piano every day and just sit down and play. And why not? Why don't we try? Just write down one or two, and whether you don't, without judgment, you can do that. So I wanted to do it, and I found that it was very interesting because, and the perfect time for me, well, perfect time people says is the most creative time of the day is the morning when you just wake up. So I wanted to try to write right on when I wake up, and that puts me in the mood to think about some kind of line, some kind of musical things going on around my ears before I even get up, um, wake up.
Right.
And often I find that leads me to give me some ideas that I want to write on. And actually I wrote more songs, and
Because of that. Yeah.
that's been working great.
That's excellent. I'm so glad to hear that. I relate to that because it's almost like if you allow yourself to go into the day, you certainly, it's the trade-off, because you could be inspired by another sound or another idea, but
Yeah.
it's sort of then the trade-off is that you sacrifice whatever is just, stirring around, simmering around inside you already. And it's
Mm.
almost like it's like when you have a dream, and the longer you're awake, the harder it is to remember that dream. And that's
Yes.
and that, I mean, I know you're not supposed to do this, but I do sleep with my phone by the bed for that reason, because if I will sometimes wake up with a melody, and
Mm.
I'll just have to roll over and just record it real quickly, because
Yes.
I'll wake
Yes.
up, and even if, like, the melody is so clear in my head, and of course in my head I'm winning a Grammy for it, it's beautiful, it's amazing, it's the you know, but I'll forget it. I'll wake up and I'll go, "Ah, it'll be," no matter how confident I was that I would have remembered. So I have these,
Mm.
so unfortunately I have a lot of voice memo notes on my phone that are all like, like I'm just, humming these nonsensical melodies. Um, but that's beautiful
I
though.
have it too. I
Yeah,
usually think of it as a trio format. So I say like the bass goes boom boom boom, drum goes like this. It's me.
I'm telling you, Hyuna, I think it'd be fascinating. Like, you should put out an album of, like, those recordings of, like, your morning sessions of, like, track 1 is going, "Alright, so dum 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 dum," and then you're setting it up. I don't know, I think that'd be fascinating.
Yes,
Maybe 1 track instead of a whole album of it, but I think it'd be an awesome.
I know.
It's pretty
Yeah.
fun. I love learning about other artists' processes. So what's the jazz scene like back now? I mean, I don't know if have you been able to travel back to Korea? Do you still go back? And if so, do you know, are you connected to the jazz scene there? What is the jazz scene like? I only know what I'm learning vicariously right now through a friend of mine, Alexis Cole, who's been traveling around Korea, and she's been
Mm,
reporting back some pretty awesome
yeah.
stories. But what's going on in Korea right now, in South Korea, in the jazz scene?
Yeah, well, during the pandemic, I haven't been back in Korea, but I had to renew my visa right before pandemic. Uh,
Okay,
at the beginning of, yeah, when entire country had 20 COVID cases basically,
right,
and the entire, yeah, the whole people were wearing masks already. I thought
right,
they were overreacting, but
right,
they
right.
were right.
Yeah, I remember that. I
Yeah.
remember that.
So that was the last time I was in Korea. Luckily, my shows were happening, so I was playing in the different parts of Korea, and there are great musicians. They who study in New York and Europe, parts of
Mm.
Europe, and even musicians who never traveled outside of Korea. They are swinging and they're just playing so great. I'm so proud of them, and
Probably
yeah,
because
the scene is growing.
it's probably because they're listening to Hyuna Park. I think they're probably getting
Oh
influenced.
my god.
Um, so speaking of listening to Hyuna Park, I'd love to listen to some more of your playing if you'd be so kind and generous to share something with us again. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, why don't you put your feet together as well several times, hands and feet, so we can really make some noise for Hyuna as we sit back and listen to the music of Hyuna Park.
Thank you. I think I'm gonna play one of the original name, "The Stars Fell on Seoul." Speaking of taking you to a journey, I will try to take you to Seoul. Here we go. you.
beautiful. Hyuna Park. Again, applause, applause all over the place. I can't. I don't even want to applaud full noise because it'll, and people will draw back. But that was yeah, right, exactly. I'll get an applause track for season two once we get, that's when we get the real money behind us, and that's when we get things going. Uh, no,
Okay.
that was beautiful, and that was called "Stars Fell on Soul," which is on your album, "Her Morning Waltz." Owen, can we toss up that information for folks again, so they can pick up a copy of the physical album? Remember when we used to buy physical albums? That was great. And you can learn more about Hyuna and her trio. Also, there's information on how you can support Hyuna directly. She has an upcoming live in-person concert on July 8th at 8 p.m., honoring
Yeah.
the late, great Bucky Pizzarelli with the Martin Pizzarelli Quartet. Martin's such a great bass player. And you'll be at the Morris Museum. And then, of course, they can find out more information at your website, groovyhyuna.com, and your social media is down there as well. Um, Man, what a treat talking with you, and we are not done yet. I have just a couple more questions I want to ask you. Um, the we're going through an obvious transition and emerging right now, and I wanted to ask you, as an artist right now, and or answer. I mean, just you don't have to specifically answer this as an artist, um, but I want to know, as a member of the next generation that I consider you to be, as I feel like I may be I came a little bit before you, but I wouldn't be, I'm not that much before you, but you're definitely the younger generation to me. And I think you're, younger, hipper, and, you got your eye on the pulse of what's next and what you want to see. So I want to ask you, what do you think musically and honestly in general, um, what would you ask of the generation that came before you? And that can be, that can be people who are in my generation, who are sort of like half a generation before you, but also those that came before you. What would you ask of us?
Hmm. Um, I would like to ask you, um, how the generation before you, um, in a way, support you or shaped you to where you are. Um, because I'm coming from like jazz education in
Hmm.
school kind
Hmm.
of situation, and I know, I mean, it's been a while, it's been going on, but I'm also experiencing support and mentorship out of school situation, little by little. And one of the main source for me or mentor is Bruce Barth, and
Hmm.
I only imagine it used to be like this, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
how did you
Yeah.
go to school, or what was the generation like?
I mean, yes, I mean, I went to school, and I studied musical theater. Well, the way the school was split up into three sections for us, so it was music, theater, and dance. They didn't have a coalesced, exclusive conservatory style musical theater situation. So I was lucky because I got more of a music education, I think, than they may be offering now to the students that came later and who are in the musical theater program. But the reason that I asked is because I know that, as things are changing so quickly, and the way that we think, the way that we interact. And I'm very curious, what you, as a member of your generation, which and again, I'm not too far off from your generation, I don't think, but I'm curious as to what and how our generation or generations who are, have come, two or three before you, how we can support, how they can support um, you and what your view is on what our a friend of mine always uses this term, the MINS. I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's an acronym for the most important next steps. And so I
Wow.
wonder, what you think, and again, musically or generally in terms of the world and how we exist right now, what do you think are the most important next steps, and how generations that came before you can support your effort in pursuing those next steps?
Huh.
I know I went a little deeper.
No, I think I talked about it with some of my friends. I would say in my generation,
Yeah.
but I think I'm tasting I started to experiencing through Bruce, because
Right.
I'm talking about Bruce a lot, because he is a huge role
Mm,
in my musical idea and career, because he really supports me to be who I am. But he is a model of a pianist who studied about everybody, and who is always curious about all the styles, and in himself is not very knowledgeable of many songs, knowing about many songs and many different
mm,
styles and everything, but versatile, I guess.
mm.
And
Yes.
but still, he supports me to be who I am, and being asked me to be proud of myself that I sound like me, and also I write tunes that doesn't sound like a standard, but it has a value on it. But I didn't have confidence fully on that.
Mm.
But I think we need to hear. I need to hear that it's okay to be you, and it supports you, and there is a space for you to be you, while we are all following and respecting the tradition of American jazz tradition. Does it make
Absolutely.
sense?
Ayuna, it makes so much sense, and I will echo that. There's absolutely not only space for you to be you, but I think there's a need for you to be you. And I mean, look, otherwise we're what? We're just making copies of each other, and and just so I fully support. I fully support that idea, and I hope that you keep producing as much you as you possibly can. Um, you're the best person to do that. You're the best you out there. You're the only you there is.
Right.
I could go on with all kinds of tea leaf, little fun quotes. Uh, but Hyuna, speaking of fun quotes, it's now time to switch directions here and have a little bit of fun. Before we get into the Mondays with Marcus lightning round, I want to ask you, as you may have heard, I like to ask all my guests to, if they're willing, to share a secret with us that they've never shared before with anyone else on camera. And of course, the secret I'll share with you is that it doesn't have to be real. You can make it up. Yeah. We'll never know. But
Really?
anything you'd like to share with us?
Well, it sounds very predictable and boring, but I want to share that I'm preparing for my second album in
That's
this
great.
summer, and thank you. I have enough songs written thanks to the morning
The
composing
morning,
times.
yeah,
Yes.
that's a great name for the album. Not for nothing, but so it's going to be all original.
Yes, it's going
Ah,
to be all
that's
original
great. That's great.
this time.
I think that's beautiful.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad to hear it. All right, Hyuna, we mentioned it before. It's coming. Are you ready for it? The Mondays with Marcus lightning round. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, fasten your
It's gonna be
seatbelts. Here
one,
we
two,
go.
three, four.
The questions may be a little bit more than that, but I think you're going to be great. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the Mondays with Marcus lightning round. Okay, here we go. We're going to turn things down a bit so we can make sure and hear each other talk. Okay, can you hear me okay? Okay,
Yes.
no excuses then. Here we go. All right. What is your favorite time of day?
Morning.
Got it. There's no wrong answer here. Nature versus cozy inside.
Nature.
Swedish fish or gummy bears?
Swedish dish. What is this?
If you could be an animal, which animal would you be?
Bear.
Wow, okay. Time travel versus immortality. Which would you choose?
Time traveler.
Awesome, I'm with you. Save me a seat. Best food to melt cheese on?
Best burrito.
Here's a plane ticket to anywhere in the universe. Where are you going?
In the universe. Mars.
Awesome, I'd like to join you. What food does jazz taste like?
Korean food.
I love it. Nice. Best way to spend a day off. What's the best way to spend a day off?
Taking shower.
Okay.
We're jumping in the pool.
Nice. All right. K-pop versus J-pop.
Nothing.
No choice. Okay. Last question.
Sorry.
It's okay. What is your favorite TV show theme song?
Pink Panther.
Nice. Henry Mancini. I love it. Hyuna,
Yes.
you did it. You did it. You did it. That is the Mondays with Marcus lightning round. Congratulations. Are you sweating? Blood.
I am
check.
sweating extra.
How's your blood pressure? You okay, everyone? All right. Oh, you did great.
Yes.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on and spending time with me here in the season finale here. You're such a great.
Congratulations, Marcus.
Thank you so
Great
much.
job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Once again, I would like you to throw up, Owen, if we can, some information about Hyuna so folks can support her. Again, that's her Venmo and her PayPal, her next upcoming live performance, her current latest record that's out now, and then continue to support her next record that's coming out. Hyuna, I wish you all of the absolute best that could possibly come your way. I can't wait to connect with you again and see you in person, hear you in person. Love to, especially at the club and anywhere else you're going to be playing. But thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to again making music with you again soon. So stay safe. You're welcome to stick around, and folks, check out Hyuna Park, whatever you do. Well, folks, now here we are. We've come to the end of our season here at Mondays with Marcus. I can't tell you how grateful I am for each of you for helping me get to this place. I definitely could not have done it alone. I mentioned that Owen Meadows has been a huge part of this process for me in helping and supporting all the technical aspects of the live stream. Also to Seth, Seth was part of Seth Asa, who has also helped me. They tag team and whatnot. So Seth, if you're listening, Seth Asa, thank you as well. And to all of the people who I bounced ideas off of in the beginning, and I said, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? The list is long. We mention all the names in the credits here when they roll. So make sure to and give a little attention there as well. A special thank you to my family, to my girlfriend, Shireen. Hyuna mentioned her husband before becoming tech support. Shireen was often tech support for me, and that's that's what we do. And but this live stream would not have been possible. And for all the people who are running live streams out there now and have been doing so for months, thank you. You don't know that you helped me, but in watching a lot of what you did, really helped me create this platform and do a lot of trial and error. And all of you for participating in the comment section and sending all the support emails and whatnot and messages and texts throughout. It's been a community effort, and that's what I wanted to create. That's what I wanted to connect with, and it was really the only reason that I was able to take on this virtual project. Because if you know me, I really love the in-person contact and meeting and connecting with people and sharing in their energy in the same space. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Of course, we wouldn't be able to continue next season without some sponsors that have come on board. I'd like to share a couple of those sponsors with you. We have been sponsored. This is pretty huge news. We've been sponsored by Thin Air. Thin Air. Here one moment and, well, you know. We've also been sponsored by the color blue. I may have mentioned this before, but we've been sponsored by the color blue. Blue, bringing yellow and green together for generations. And we've also been sponsored by the internet. The internet. It's where you go when you really have nowhere else to go. And we have a few more sponsors that have carried us into now, made it possible for us to continue in season 2. For all you musicians out there, we've been sponsored by, this is pretty fantastic, we've been sponsored by Whole Notes. You'll always find us at the end of the bar. This is why I love virtual, because you can't land bits like this to a deadening silence like you can in person. It's just too hard. There's going to be one sympathetic person who's going to moan or groan, or at least give you some sympathetic, spaced out applause. I don't have to worry about that now. I just expect silence. Lastly, folks, we are our series underwriter. We wouldn't be anywhere we are today without fermatas. Fermatas. Sometimes you just need to be held. And folks, that does it for our sponsors. We couldn't be here without them. Thank you once again to everyone. You are all my grateful moment. If you'd like to stay in touch with me, share your grateful moments or any other thoughts at all, you can always reach me at ilovemondayswithmarcus@gmail.com. If you are sharing a grateful moment, make sure and note it there. If you're going to share it on social media, put in the hashtag and we'll get a nice vibe going. Folks, once again, if you'd like to support the series, you can always send us some support during the off season to our Venmo or PayPal. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel in the off season and keep in touch with us. And Owen, if you can toss that information back up there. And folks, I have another special promotion. I also have a bunch of albums out myself, and if you'd like to purchase any of them, we have them all available for you on my website. And I'm going to be running a special for the next 8 albums that I sell. Doesn't matter which one you buy, but for the next 8 albums that are purchased, they come with their very own homemade Marcus Organic Strawberry Ginger Jam. That's right, folks. One thing I've taken to doing, and Owen, you can release that graphic so people can see. I'm not making this up, folks. I now have taken to making my own strawberry ginger jam, package them up, and I will send this to you with a copy of any CD that you order. Just make sure that you put in the notes or send me an email and whatnot, and we'll match it. Make sure that you and get your own. Again, it's organic strawberry ginger jam, and it's delicious. Gave some to some neighbors in my building and they love it. So anyway, I'm playing around with that and just trying to share a little bit of the love. And since, we can't be at the jam together, I thought I'd send the jam to you. All right. That's my last pun for this minute anyway. Folks, this has been such a thrill. Thank you again for sharing this experience and going on this journey with me. As always, wherever you are, I hope you continue to stay safe, continue to stay engaged, and continue to stay compassionate. Whatever you're feeling in this next transition and how we emerge, it's okay. Wherever you are and however you come back to wherever we're going next, it's okay. I see you and hear you, and I look forward to seeing and hearing you again in person. Take care, folks. Have a wonderful and safe summer. Bye-bye.
Everybody loves a perfect theme song, a melody that stays inside your heart. You might have a nice show and others may think so, but if you want a great connection right from the start, then you gotta have a perfect theme song, so everyone can sing along from home. And while they are singing, the ratings you'll bring in, all because the melody is stuck in their head. You can make the bridge sound Jewish, that would be fine, long as it's familiar but newish. Everyone's falling in line, all because you got a perfect theme song, accompanying the audience for years. And when the show is over, it won't be the end, because the perfect theme song's a life-lasting friend. And speaking of friends, he's your host and MC. 'Cause Mondays with Marcus is now a live stream. Whoa, whoa, whoa.